battleground of Bihar. After a resounding mandate, the NDA is all set to form the next government in the state of Bihar. Now today, LJP's Chirag Paswan was seen leaving Nitish Kumar's residence after a brief meeting. Paswan, whose LJP shone with a surprise of 22 seats, offered a carefully worded statement on the way out. He added that all NDA allies fought the elections together, and that is the reason why alliance secured a landslide majority. But the next big question, of course, is who will be the chief minister? Chirag Paswan sidestepped, offering no clear answer, leaving the political suspense very much alive.
मुख्यमंत्री जी को बधाई देने शुभकामनाएं देने आए। जिस तरीके से मुख्यमंत्री नीतीश कुमार जी के नेतृत्व में एनडीए गठबंधन ने ऐतिहासिक जीत हासिल करने का काम किया है, ऐसे में उनसे मुलाकात कर लोक जनशक्ति पार्टी रामविलास का एक प्रतिनिधि मंडल उनसे मुलाकात कर उनको से बधाई शुभकामनाएं देने आया था। और मुझे खुशी है इस बात की कि मुख्यमंत्री जी ने जिस तरीके से एनडीए गठबंधन के हर एक घटक दल की भूमिका को सराहने का उन्होंने काम किया। और मुख्यमंत्री जी ने विशेष तौर पर जब वो अपने मताधिकार का उपयोग करने गए तो उन्होंने दिखाया कि किस तरीके से उन्होंने लोक जनशक्ति पार्टी रामविलास प्रत्याशी का समर्थन करने का काम किया। हम हमारा जहां पे वोट है अलौली, वहां पर हम लोगों ने जनता दल यूनाइटेड के उम्मीदवार का समर्थन करने का काम किया। तो ये अपने में दर्शाता है कि जो लोग भ्रम फैला रहे थे लोजपा और जदयू के बीच कहीं न कहीं वो सिर्फ झूठी अफवाह, एक फॉल्स नैरेटिव सेट करने का प्रयास था।
And earlier this morning, it began with a brainstorming session at the Chief Minister's residence. Nitish Kumar's most trusted lieutenants were said to be huddled in a high-stakes meeting. Senior JDU leader Lallan Singh, Sanjay Jha, Vijay Chaudhary and Umesh Kushwaha were seen arriving at the Chief Minister's residence, signalling crucial deliberations were underway. All eyes remain now on what emerges from the strategy session. And that, of course, is the top story as far as Bihar is concerned. After a landslide victory of the NDA, it now appears that Bihar is headed for a new government under the leadership of Nitish Kumar. And what was that winning combination? And that, of course, is the discussion. The sweeping victory of NDA in Bihar. To talk about that and to discuss strategy as to what's to come forward, joining me on the show is Dr. Ashwin Kumar, Professor, Tata Institute of Social Sciences. He's an author, and also with us is Santosh Singh. He's a senior journalist, as well as Arun Anand, author and senior journalist. Thank you very much, all three of you, for taking time out for joining us on the show. Dr. Ashwini Kumar, many people are reading into what came by the way of a surprise also for the NDA as the Nemo effect, the appeal of the Prime Minister Modi and the reliability of what Nitish Kumar has delivered in the last 15 years.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, I would say Namo Nitish effect, I mean, like that's tsunami. If you have to call the tsunami, I mean, like some of us were expecting this kind of a comfortable and also landslide victory, but the very extent, and I would add the term depth of this victory is memorable and largely possible by Namo and Nitish Kumar ji. I mean, this is unprecedented for many of us who are researching about anti-incumbency and incumbency paradoxes. So this really shows that how deep, Nitish Kumar over time built what I called in my works recently, maternal welfare structure, the civic infrastructure that made it possible to generate this kind of, invisible tsunami over the top, Prime Minister's proactive, dynamic, dynamo-like campaign, spread the memory of Jungle Raj. Together that led to this massive defeat for Mahagathbandhan and a massive victory, memorable victory for, NDA.
A very memorable victory. Arun Anand, a lot coming through by the way of, post-facto analysis on what really worked for the NDA government. I mean, it's a brilliant victory. Nobody can take that away. Even though Congress party continues to hinge on the same argument of electoral manipulation, the rolls manipulation, EVM being tampered with. But all said and done, it does look like the NDA coalition with its wider net was able to cohesively keep its partners together. And many are looking at, a transfer of vote that wasn't seen in many, many decades.
You're right. These are the factors which are there. But if you will look at the Bihar results, the results are continuation of a pattern. What you have seen in Maharashtra, what you have seen in Haryana, of course, the extent of victory is much bigger. But in Maharashtra also, they had a historic win. And the reason for that is, apart from managing the coalition well, running a campaign with a good communication strategy, taking your message across, catering to that Labharti class effectively, and taking people out from their homes to vote for you. So all these things are there, but there is a larger systemic difference between the opposition and the BJP, because BJP has a clear-cut edge because it has got three things right which are necessary to win elections or to be a perfect electoral, what you call a winning machine. One, they have a charismatic leader. Second, their ideological roadmap is very clear, about which they are not apologetic. And third, they have a very strong organization. And a strong organization is built not with members of the party, but cadres of the party. And members are turned, see, the rest of the parties, apart from left is now nowhere on the ground, but the rest of the opposition parties, so they all have members, they don't have cadres. If you have to convert members into cadres, you need training programs which have to be based on your ideological framework. So Congress and the opposition, that is where the difference is between the BJP and the rest of the parties.
Absolutely. And Santosh Singh, it wouldn't be wrong to say that it does look like, as of today, women constitutes a core base for NDA governance and for NDA as well as for the BJP. I mean, look at how it translated. They banged on women to give them votes, and I think that is exactly what has helped them. By the way, of various schemes, of course, they've launched in the past as well. You have to credit Nitish Kumar for launching that many schemes for women. But, the conversations around Jivika Didis, for the transfer of 10,000 rupees right before elections, which Congress continues to say, in a way, was against, the electoral norms and rules. But I think that, in a way, paved the way for NDA's major success.
Obviously, that was the trigger. But as I always say, that was the social capital of Nitish Kumar, accumulated over last 20 years. It just didn't happen in just 1 year or
Absolutely.
2 years. He cultivated the caste neutral constituency of women over last 20 years. He comes from a caste group of 2.87%. He could be a test case in Indian history, Indian political history. How a leader with a caste base of only 2.87% can cultivate a constituency, create a constituency of his own. He created ABC constituency. He created caste neutral constituency of women. He created caste neutral constituency of youth as well. So he expanded it. Of course, the doles or freebies, whatever you may call it, it was the immediate trigger. It did consolidate. It was a preservative re-election. We have been saying it all along, it was a status quoist election. But one thing also that is remarkable is, you see the Mahagandhan got 37%. They had got 37.23. That is a marginal difference. It is the surge of BJP NDA votes. That is, they are up by 10%. Then the conversion. If you go into the maths, that would tell you the story. The difference of 10%. And last time difference was only 0.3%. That nothing to choose between the two camps. Yet the difference was 15 seats. This time you see the difference. So see, I always say, when RJD was on its own in 2010, it got 22 seats. When it was with Nitish Kumar, it got 80 seats. When it contested LN, but Chirag was an undeclared ally of RJD in some sense in last election.
I want to talk about Chirag Paswan particularly, because I think, as you pointed out, he has emerged not just as a key political figure, but someone who has clearly swayed the election in favor of NDA. But let's quickly take a look at what Bihar has done. Bihar has delivered not just a victory, it's a mandate with clarity. The voters have handed Modi-Nitish NDA a sweeping endorsement, an endorsement that cuts across caste lines, social blocks, gender divides and political fatigue. This is a mandate that has rewarded governance. It has rejected uncertainty. And these are the signals that voters are still backing the model of stability plus delivery. And behind this emphatic win are 11 clear factors. We'll be going out, with them one after the other. That explain that NDA not only held its ground, but also expanded quite dramatically. So to begin with, at the top of the list, as we discussed, is the powerful Modi-Nitish combination. The national appeal of Prime Minister Modi fused seamlessly with Nitish Kumar's local credibility, creating a stability-like narrative and a delivery narrative that voters trusted over everything else. And then comes that the NDA ran its own collision in a very disciplined manner. Smart seat sharing, minimal infighting, district level coordination and partners who added real value. In a state like Bihar, collision management is half the battle won. Now, collision management, Dr. Ashwini, is something that perhaps Mahagathbandhan could have also learned a thing or two from, because we heard of a lot of infighting within Mahagathbandhan, how there was no clarity on seat sharing and how votes did not transfer like it did in case of NDA. There was no seamless cohesion within Mahagathbandhan.
I think absolutely, and this is very crucial to understand and unpack this tsunami victory. I mean, like, if you just look at, the so-called friendly fights in Mahagathbandhan, that really reveals a lot about their inner dynamics, So they suffered, not only, from the coalition contradictions. On paper, they are cohesive. On paper, they have been together for 20 years, 30 years. I mean, like, if you look at Congress, once marginalized in Bihar, vacated its dominant position to RJD, have been working there for almost 30, 35 years. But they have not done that kind of exercise that, NDA has done, coordination going deep down, deep down to the booth management level. That was very obvious, when the SIR was happening and the way, BLA, booth level agents were being mobilized. And if you just look at, this small, what I call butterfly effect has also impacted, the way elections have, turned themselves. For instance, if you can't manage a booth through your own locally active, political agent belonging to your political party, and over time in a cascading effect, organizing, reorganizing, preparing them for the final electoral battle, that really shows how unprepared they were on the ground, So,
it's extremely also unfortunate as we speak to them, and we've been speaking to them since yesterday. There is no acceptance. There is no acknowledgement. There are questions, of course, but there's no acceptance, no acknowledgement, no mention of going back to the drawing board to redraw strategy. Lots of questions, of course, asked on EC. I'm not sure if that is a political strategy that will pay any dividends to the Congress party or Mahagathbandhan for that matter. But let's also talk about the factor number 3 that revolves around the memories of Lalu era Jungle Raj. They remain deeply embedded within memories of an average person in Bihar. The NDA successfully tapped into voter fear of lawlessness, especially after Tejashwi was projected as the Chief Minister face, reviving a contrast that worked sharply in its favour. Then comes the women factor, which bolstered NDA to a resounding win. Women emerged as a decisive vote bank. Welfare schemes, safety concerns and fears of slipping back into Jungle Raj translated into a clear and determined tilt towards the NDA, one that even pollsters underestimated. The missteps of the Mahagathbandhan gave NDA the much-needed edge. The opposition made unforced errors, from candidate choices to messaging. The NDA not only held on to its OBC, EBC and upper caste coalition, but also peeled away women from the bloc. So, be it the factor vis-a-vis the party collision, or the fact that the Mahagathbandhan failed to see how their narrative was not paving way for a greater mandate, or anti-incumbency was not really translating into votes, Santosh Singh perhaps clearly failed to read the people of Bihar. That up until the polling day, I remember there were conversations whenever there is a surge in vote right around elections, it's usually in the favor of the anti-incumbent. But that didn't really happen. In fact, if anything, it was a resounding victory in favor of the ruling government.
Yes, very, very true. I think they didn't read the public mood. We have been saying it all along that it was pro-incumbency vote. In this channel itself, we said that it was pro-incumbency vote. But they didn't see. They saw it otherwise. So they could not. Number one, they could not stitch a good social combination. They didn't have a charismatic leader like Nitish Kumar in its fold. Not tested and try. Of course, he had been deputy chief minister twice and leader of opposition twice. But still, in comparison to the colossus Nitish Kumar, he stood nowhere. And the third factor, I think, which is a very important factor, the non-clubbing of EBC with RJD's core base vote. So the aggression of RJD's core vote was, that is OBC Yadav. It doesn't sound good to name caste, but we have to do so at times. So non-clubbing of Yadavas with the EBC, we have 26% of EBC. I think a post-arrival of Narendra Modi on national scene in 2014, if the BJP cultivated EBC in a big way. Of course, before that, even after that, Nitish Kumar has been cultivated that constituency. So that was the add-on. That is something RJD has not been able to do. So that's why they are not able to cross that proverbial Rubicon.
Absolutely.
As we say that.
Absolutely. So the people of Bihar, literally sidestepped the Muslim Yadav trap. RJD struggled to move beyond its Muslim Yadav core, and an aggressive tone from Yadav leaders alienated EBCs, and the party failed to really attract women as well as new voters, which turned its strength into a limitation. But as usual, it was also the Rahul Gandhi's vote chori narrative that completely collapsed. Rahul Gandhi's insistence on the vote chori narrative fell flat. It consumed the valuable campaign time, did not resonate with voters, and forced Tejaswi into a theme that had little traction on ground. Would it be fair to say, Arun Anand, that perhaps the vote chori narrative would not have worked from the beginning? And to assess people turnout when it comes to a vote adhikar yatra and hope that it will translate into votes is a very naive way of playing politics.
It reminds me, like as a kid, I used to, in 1984, after Indira Gandhi's assassination, I attended, as a kid, along with my father, several rallies of Atal Bihari Vajpayee and other BJP leaders. And there were huge, massive crowds in those rallies because everybody knows, that Vajpayee was a great speaker and other BJP leaders also. And when the election results came, so BJP had won only 2 seats. So, attending the number of people who are attending your rallies and the number of seats which you are going to get, so there is no direct correlation between that. One is that. Second is the art of messaging. See, BJP has also, faltered to a little bit in 2024, but they learned from their mistakes and their messaging was very clear. The messaging of Congress and Tejaswi, it was not clear, as you rightly mentioned. See, first he talks about vote chori, then he vanishes from the scene for 40 days, and he derailed Tejaswi Yadav's agenda. Earlier, Tejaswi Yadav was talking about, employment and other issues. And apart from that, the Mahagathbandhan coalition knew that BJP and JDU-led coalition, they will target, Tejaswi Yadav and their coalition on the issue of Jungle Raj. So they should have been prepared with a strategy to counter that. And that strategy was not there. So that's how this whole narrative was built. And I think Rahul Gandhi has a basic problem. See, unfortunately, apart from Congress, members, not many people have, started taking him seriously. In fact, there have been jibes at him now, that he is the superstar pracharak of BJP. So wherever he goes, BJP scores a kind of a huge victory. And one last thing I want to mention. See, the kind of abuses which were hurled on PM's mother, that played a very, very huge role, basically, because in a state like Bihar, women were very emotional about it and the opposition had not condemned it, as far as I know. So these kind of things, they brought back the memory of Jungle Raj.
Oh, that is interesting. It's an interesting take. Women there, of course, taking charge as they do, the women of Bihar, and clearly delivering a mandate there for NDA. Perhaps some of those conversations around abuses did not play up really well for women voters of Bihar. But at the end of it, it is a resounding mandate. And Dr. Ashwini Kumar, what's the way forward from here? BJP has clearly emerged as the big brother of JDU. It's going to be a few days of, high-level level meetings at Nitish Kumar's residence, some of which have already started. While he may hold on to the chief ministerial post, we don't know how long. And we now also know that perhaps the cabinet will have a larger say of the BJP.
See, for me, I think things are very clear. I mean, like, there is no vacancy in Bihar. Nitish is already, 10th chief minister. I mean, like, it's a matter, he's not even a caretaker chief minister. He's fully in charge. If you look at the substantive part of being Nitish Kumar, he's on the ground and he has taken a public, pledge that he will make Bihar a Viksit Bihar. So you can imagine the confidence of Nitish Kumar at the age of 74. So there is no fragility in terms of his political longevity. B, there is no confusion about, even, whether or not Nitish Kumar will, nominate a successor. He would pretty much be there. And C, I mean, like, given this, mathematical superiority, between BJP and JDU, the 5-seat numbers, I mean, like, it's not material to the formation of the government. What is material here, the tsunami victory and this, landslide victory also signals a new kind of social compact, as I've mentioned it, and I repeat it, a kind of a social contract for the development, for the next generation reforms in Bihar. So that's
Absolutely.
where Bihar, from a provincial modernity to aspirational modernity, backed by women and youth. And so Bihar is no longer, what I mentioned elsewhere, from a migrant democracy to a feminist democracy, where the vision of Prime Minister and the vision of Nitish Kumar not collide, but complement each other. That's the future of Bihar.
Right, and with BJP also emerging as the single largest party in the state assembly, it also makes one believe that perhaps the 2024 Lok Sabha elections were an aberration, and obviously the Narendra Modi wave is still very much intact when it comes to state assemblies.